Good morning, everyone. Before we start our seminar, I'd like to check the availability of our speakers. Ms. Hương, can you hear me?
Can hear you very well.
All right, Ms. Hương from Manpower, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
All right. How about Ms. Lin Võ? Can you hear me?
Yes, hear you very clear.
Okay. How about Ms. Tracy? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Ms. Rahika, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
All right. How about Mr. Tate? Can you hear me?
Yes, I could. Thank you.
All right. So all the speakers can hear me well, yeah?
Yes, we are.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, our speaker, to join the webinar today. And welcome to all the participants, all the joiners who are joining our webinar today. I am Sơn, Operation Manager, Staffing and Outsourcing Services at Manpower Group Vietnam. It is my pleasure to be your moderator for this webinar today. All right. Good morning, everyone, again. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to our webinar today, which is aimed to share the best practice in talent recruitment on digital platform. Today we receive our registration from over 100 attendees. And once again, thank you very much for your interest in our webinar today. Okay. And to start with, I would like to introduce our distinguished guest speaker, who will share a lot of thoughts and meaningful information to all of us today. First of all is Ms. Nguyễn Thanh Hương, Country HR Manager of Manpower Group Vietnam. Secondly, will be Ms. Tracy Chang Do, Head of HR at Shopee and AirPay. Thirdly, Ms. Rahika Shanda, Senior Media Solutions Manager, Staffing Global Account, APAC LinkedIn. Fourth, Mr. Trần Ngọc Thịnh, Recruitment Manager at Mondelez International. And finally is Ms. Võ Thùy Liên, Talent Acquisition Manager at Jabil Vietnam. Please welcome our speakers. And before we start our webinar today, there are a few rules of webinar that I would like you to pay attention to on the screen. All right. First of all, I think you can see the information on the screen. So just a few highlights is that please mute your microphone and turn off your camera so that you can have the highest quality of our webinar today. Yeah. And secondly, if you have any question, please type up the type box, and then we will ask our speaker at the end of our sections, because we have about 30 minutes of Q&A section at the end of the webinar. Each speaker will have 20 minutes for their presentations, but of course you can short if you finish earlier, which is fine as well. Yeah. Okay, so to start with, I would like to introduce Ms. Nguyễn Thanh Hương, Country HR Manager, to present about her topic, please.
Okay. Thanks, Sơn, for your introductions, and good morning, everyone. I hope you are all fine today, and thank you for your attending this webinar. Today, I'm very happy to share with you the topic, candidates analysis that helped you recruit right talent. Candidates' technology preference and expectations for job searches are changing rapidly and have less to do with how the process had traditionally worked than how the work functions today. The technology that an employer uses or does not use at every stage of the recruitment life cycle sends a very powerful message about employer brand to today's candidates. Those companies that proactively respond to candidates' technological preference rather than fight them will win the war for talent. Next slide, please. And in the next 15-20 minutes, I would like you to go through with me the three topics. Recruiting technology adoptions. What should be the technology approach in the digital transformations, and how recruiters in this digital age have to do personal branding on social media? And next, do you think we should serve candidates as consumer? If so, how we show our best and professionalism to candidates? And we all know that we are working in a very diversified workforce, meaning several generations at the workplace. So how to balance the workforce mix? Next slide, please. So now let's talk about the recruiting technology adoptions. We gain a great insights from the research, but let's focus on the technology piece today. Candidates have reached the I'm sorry, not yet. Previous slides, please. Yes, candidates have reached the tipping points for using mobile device to apply to jobs, and most employers are ill-equipped to respond. Wow. Talent Tech Labs 2017 State of Talent Acquisition report found that 45% of HR leaders believe candidate sourcing technology is the area most likely to see rapid investment. But beyond simply applying for jobs, technology is staying in the very step of the recruitment life cycle. Chatbots are initiating conversations, text messaging is replacing email, and video technologies are being leveraged for screening. Our research also revealed that the adoptions of recruiting technology is light years behind consumer marketing technology. Wow, I believe that you feel surprised about this. So candidate expectations for job searchings are being driven more by contemporary dating apps than by current job search protocols. Next slide, please. So before talking about the number here, I would like to share with you or explain to you. So who are early technology adopters? What does it mean? Manpower Group Solutions has identified a new group of candidates known as early HR technologies adopters. Those who have used at least 3 or more technologies in their job search during the past 6 months, including a smartphone apps, social media advertisement, virtual job fair, text message to or from a company, video interview, etc. So early HR technology adopters are unique among candidates. They tend to be young, urban, highly mobile, and students, evenly divided between males and females. This new group of candidates provides new insight into the rate of HR technology adoptions and acts as a predictor of the specific technologies mode design in the marketplace. So those informations are from the very popular research of Manpower Group named Siri, Find Me a New Job. So look at the number here, you see that 29% of Gen Z, people who were born after 1996, use social apps. 35% of Gen Y, or called millennials, and 86% of them are willing to move to a new city, region, or country. That is their mobility. Next slide, please. Okay, so in the situations and then how candidates use the technology. The graphs, look at the chart here, you can see that not all HR technologies are created equal. Social media ads are further ahead on the adoptions curve by candidates, while only 17% of global candidates have used a smartphone apps to search or apply for a job, and only 11% have participated in a virtual job fair, texted with a company, or chatted on an employer website. 31% of candidates have clicked on a job-related social media ads. The high rate of engagement with social media ads suggests even passive candidates can be lured to click on tag job advertisement, even when they might not actively be looking for new employment. So matching technologies to candidate is key. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we all agree that social media ads are top choice for candidates. So the chart here, the number here also shows that 31% of candidates have clicked on a job-related social media ads, and 73% of early HR technology adopters click on social media ads. Social media ads and smartphone apps will be the most utilized HR technologies in the future. I hope you agree with me. Matching the technology to the candidate is key. The bulk of junior to mid-level roles are most exclusively advertised through online media. That rarely occurs for senior level positions, which are mostly referrals or third-party recruitment. Mr. Sam Heck, our directors of MFP and Sales of Manpower Group Malaysia and Indonesia said, I think that so we all agree with me that nowadays in Vietnam, if you have the executive level positions, and then you would prefer using the third party or referral rather than put the advertisement on the social media. Next slide, please. Okay, so millennials, who are millennials? They are Gen Y. So people who were born from 1985 to 1995, and 64% of them are interested in applying to the job via smartphone apps. Yes. However, the research also showed that the preferred interview formats by women and men are also different. Looking at the chart, you can see that so women tend to prefer in-person interview with hiring managers or phone interview than men. And men would prefer video conference technologies or invitations only job fair than women. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay. So as I mentioned before, now many organizations said that they should serve their candidates as a consumer. Yeah. And if we consider our candidates are consumers too, and then how we treat them and why candidates are consumers. Next slide, please. Yeah. So our global research also showed that negative candidate experience for sure will impact our sales and our business. More than half, 54%, of global candidates say that a negative candidate experience makes them less likely to buy a company products or service in the future. Oh, we really don't want that. This extends beyond retail relationships to include a wide variety of potential goods and services. And more than half of all global candidates, say 56%, also say that they are more likely to work for a company whose products they buy or use. Loyal consumers often connect with companies based on a perceived set of common values, so candidates may feel connected to organizational culture through their consumer experience. So candidate experience, I think, is as important as consumer experience. Okay, so these slides also show the key impacts on purchase behavior. For 3 years, the Global Candidates Preference Survey has pointed to the importance of employer-employee trust among candidates. The 2018 survey results suggest that trust is not merely a nice to have, but rather a need to have element of employer brand. 42% of candidates report that lack of employer-employee trust has a negative impact on their purchase behavior. In fact, the most impactful aspect of employer brand on sales all relate to the relationship between the potential employee and the organizations, including lack of transparency, 43%, and lack of consistency in words and action, 40%. Brand attributes such as clear mission's vision, ill-defined or traditional company culture, making a great place to work list, or social responsibility all rank significantly lower than relationship-related aspects. Yeah, balance your workforce mix. So why workforce mix and why we have to balance it? So how we have to balance it? So we all know that. So now we are working we are having the workplace environment where we may have the 3 or 4 generations working together. So people strategies must be both a science and an art. Like all consumers, staff also a great user experience. They want personalized insight to understand their strength and potential. They want career conversations and coaching to set goals, manage their development and control their careers. So when talking about talent strategies, so organizations, enterprise should take into consideration those points. There is no one size fits all. So if your company wants young, new talent and then invest in technology, if you want experience hires and then consider old options and match the right technologies to the candidates you need. Yeah. So here are numbers of things that show the attractions and the retentions drive the drivers to attract talent and to retain talent. Among those, what are the top 5 priorities when millennials looking for the jobs? I think that you will agree with me that they are money, according to our survey. They are money, security, holidays times off, great people, and flexible working. Yeah. Among those factors to attract and retain talent and the top 5 priorities. So how we use the diversified channels to attract talent? As I mentioned, there is no single technology solutions. Often the best technology strategy is to employ a variety of tools and solutions. However, you need to test and refine the tool mix for the best results. Next slide, please. Okay, here you can find also some information about our Manpower Group. We are a leading global workforce solutions company in the world.
Yeah,
yes.
So thank you very much.
That's all.
Yes, please.
Thank you. That's all about my presentations and looking forward to share with you more during the panel discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Hương, for your information and very interesting topic. At the very beginning of your presentation, you talked a lot about technology to replace traditional recruitment tools, and then later on you mentioned about social media, and then finally you closed conversation your presentation with diversified channel to attract talent. Those topics they will be touched by our speaker later on. So our participant, please stay tuned to next presentations, which is from Ms. From Ms. Tracy from Shopee and AirPay. She will talk about employer branding on social media, which is we all know which is very important nowadays because the young generation they use a lot of time on social media to stay connected with the society and also to look for a new job. So please welcome our presenter, Ms. Tracy Giang Do. Hello, Ms. Tracy, can you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I can hear you well.
Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm very honored to be here today to share with you some story about Shopee and AirPay employer branding. Previously, Ji Hương already shared with you about like different like recruitment channels, digital recruitment techniques, and I guess for most of the companies before we use digital platforms to recruit talents. We should start with building our employer branding on social media, on digital platforms. And there are a couple of ways to do it, depends on which country or locations you're in. But in today's presentation, I would talk about Facebook and LinkedIn mostly because those are the most two popular platforms in Vietnam. My presentation would be much shorter than 20 minutes. Then I'm happy to answer any questions later on in the panel discussion. Okay, next slide, please. So usually when we talk about social media, we only think that it's a way for us, it's a channel for us to post any job openings, any open vacancy. But at Shopee, social media is not on the platform for just job posting, but also to share our life at Shopee or life at AirPay, meaning that share the story of our different activities inside and outside of the office. Next, please. So we have official accounts on LinkedIn and on Facebook to post different activities that happen inside the company. For example, new office opening event, or outside of the company, like our running activities, different marathons or sport activity that we participate or sponsor our employees to join throughout the year, or CSR activities. Like when you have LinkedIn account, it's like most of the company have an official just one account on LinkedIn. But for Facebook, beside the account for the brand, that we have the Shopee account is an account for the consumer, but we also have Shopee Careers account on Facebook, which is used for the main purpose for recruitment, for employer branding. And when you create a second account for the company on Facebook, make sure that account is verified by Facebook. Otherwise, it will be deleted because Facebook only recognizes one single account for each company. And these are the official accounts that are managed by HR team, the employer branding team. At the same time, we encourage all the employees to post on their personal account as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so our employees are encouraged, strongly advised to post anything that they find interesting when working at Shopee on their personal account. They always, when they post, they always use the hashtag Life of Shopee or Life at AirPay. They can share team buildings, events, team building lunch, dinners, or trainings activity, or other CSR activity that they are doing. So we don't limit any content from the employees, and then I think this is a more powerful way to create the habits for the employee to post and then to share as their own will, beside what officially comes from the company. Next slide, please. Right. So once we have all the posting, we also create other engaging activities for our social media followers. We now have like quite a huge following populations on LinkedIn and Facebook, and in order to create a more interactive engagement with our followers, once in a while we create different activities, different games, mini games for the participant or the followers to join and to share with us what is happening like in our life at Shopee. Next slide, please. some of the example that we did before, on Facebook page, our Facebook career page, we have some mini games for all employees and non-employees as well. For employees, we have like during the COVID time, we had photo contest that the employees can take the photo of their working from home and then they share on Facebook, official Facebook or their personal Facebook, and then those who have the most likes will receive a small prize from the company. And we have different, we follow different trends on the social media to create mini games that are tailored for our employees or our non-employees. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah. Beside the games, we also have virtual sharing or information section on career advice on different career options in the company. For example, we have a webinar on post-COVID opportunity for fresh graduates, or we create a webinar to showcase one or two functions in the company where we have business manager to go and talk about their job function, their daily activity, their daily work. And this is also a way that we attract all the potential candidates. So whenever the candidates join or participants join in these webinar or information sections, they usually have like their contact details, and then after the event we will follow up with them whether they are interested in the opportunities with us or whether they are potential candidates for certain position in the company. So we gather like all the information from the participant, and we do really follow up with them after the event. Yeah, next please. And the last thing, this is actually very last thing I want to share, that mass posting is really, really powerful. Next slide. If you follow Shopee on LinkedIn, you will see that we do a lot of mass posting across all the locations. We have one single, every time we do mass posting, we have a single message that we want to share with all our followers. In this slide, I showed the mass posting that we did sometime in May, early June, when we reached 500,000 followers on LinkedIn. So with this, we have marketing team behind to help us to come up with the design and the single message that we want to share across all the platforms. And then with this one, the HR team would be the first team across all the locations to share, and you will see like it's over on LinkedIn from different countries of Shopee, and then each of the HR team, everyone in the HR team would post. So you will see many posts like this on Shopee LinkedIn accounts. Mass posting is, I think, is a way that to create more awareness about the brand, and also is how to create a consistent brand image, a consistent employer brand image with the candidates, with the employees. And you can only do mass posting when you have like one really key message that you want to send out, and you need to standardize everything that everyone is will post in the same, with the same design or the similar message. Yeah, so social media is probably the most cost-effective way to do your employer branding, to build your employer branding. But how can you start? At the beginner, where to start? I would like to share some of the final tactics. I would say tactic, not really strategy, that for you to start your employer branding on social media. First of all, create consistent hashtag. A couple of years ago, when we started with Shopee, we created live at Shopee, and then later on we have live at AirPay. For this, we just use one single hashtag or two or a couple of hashtags, but they have to be consistent, and you need to remind all the employees about this hashtag. Every time we do any event in the company, when we encourage employee to post, to share, we always remind them with this hashtag that is something that now that everyone remembers in the company. The second tactic is encourage employees to share a post on all social media channels, anything interesting about their job, about the company, team building activities, and maybe share with them some guidelines how to post on social media. For example, when they post on LinkedIn, they shouldn't post 2 photos, but should be either 1 or at least 3 in order for the post looks nice. Or when they post, they always have to hashtag, use the hashtag of the company, or they tag the company name in their post. Third, building like huge following like Shopee takes a lot of time. You know, we've been around the market for 4 years. After more than 4 years, we hit 500,000 followers. So it takes a lot of patience from everyone, starting with the HR team. We have dedicated team to do employer branding, and then we HR are the first people to engage on social media. And then after that, we create the habit for all other employees, so that eventually is spread out as part of our culture as well. Fourth is mass posting. So mass posting, as I said previously, is really, really powerful, but it can only be powerful if you have consistent message and consistent design. Then this is something that you can work together with the marketing team to help you create like really nice design and nice posts, so that you can share and you can flood the whole social media or LinkedIn or Facebook with your posts. And last but not least is the management team. A lot of CEO really wanted to post on social media, but they don't have time to think about the content. They forget sometime, or maybe once they remember to post, it's not during office hour, it's late at night, something like that. So you like I think that in each of a company, the HR team or the marketing team or internal communication team needs to help the CEO or the top management team to come up with the content to post on social media. The content might be similar to like some of the employees' content, or might be different. It depends on your company's strategy, but you need to have someone to help the management team, the CEO in particular, in order to create his or her personal brand on LinkedIn, on social media, but also the company employer branding. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, as I said, the presentation would be very, very short. I would be happy to later on answer some of the questions that you might have, or share more thoughts if you have any other thing to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Very interesting sharings. I do realize employer branding is one of the very top key activities that Shopee and AirPay. I think it is not just to attract talents, but on your purpose, I can imagine it helps you a lot of retaining talents within your organizations as well, because they create a habit of the employee to do hashtag related to the name or certain theme of the company, and it becomes the habit they will love to stay within the company, because it becomes the habit to put the company names on even their personal account, which is very, very interesting activity that you do on Shopee and AirPay. Thank you very much for your sharing, Ms. Tracy. All right. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Rahika Shanda, who will share with us on LinkedIn. We all know that there are lots of people using LinkedIn right now, and it has become more and more effective in in recruiting people. And today she will share about the best content practice on LinkedIn or how to attract talents. Please, Ms. Rahika Shanda. Shanga, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. San. Well, first of all, let me thank all of our speakers as well as Manpower Group for allowing me to be here today and speak to your audience. And to the audience as well, thank you for taking the time to listen to us and ask us your questions. There's been a lot of commonality, I would say, or similarities in what Ms. Hoong and Ms. Tracy have spoken so far and in what I'm going to present next. So if we can go to the presentation. I'm specifically going to be focusing on best practices for posting on LinkedIn. And even within that sphere, I'm talking specifically about what you can do organically. Of course, there's a lot of things, you can do when you have marketing dollars allocated, especially, in the example that Ms. Tracy had before with her employer branding. You saw a lot of examples of how employees are posting, right, on the organic side, but at the same time, there's a lot of engagement on their paid, marketing, specifically on Facebook and LinkedIn. So if we can move on to the next slide, I'd like to begin with this specific information, right? This is basically a snapshot of the Digital Trust Report that's prepared by Business Insider every year. And for us at LinkedIn, we're super thrilled that for the past 3 years, LinkedIn has been recognized as the most trusted digital and social platform. And this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? Because there's an actual intent behind investing in our products and our services in our entire platform to build that trust. So we're really proud of that. But at the same time, because the members are the crux of our platform, there's a lot of responsibility that falls on LinkedIn's shoulders to protect your privacy, right? To protect the data that you provide us, to be transparent in the content that we show you, right? So we try and avoid deceptive content and fake news and scams and clickbaity types of content on LinkedIn, right? It's also one of the safest platforms from a consumer standpoint, from a member standpoint, to actually post, right? And present your voice and your thoughts on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn also has the least amount of annoying ads. So it just gives you a snapshot of why we're the most trusted digital social platform, right? And this is something that Ms. Hoong also mentioned earlier in her presentation. One of the key aspects that's lacking in the world that we are in today is trust with corporations, right? And there's a huge gap between consumers as well as candidates and what brands are doing, right? And I'm going to talk to you about why content is key to building that trust with your audiences, whether it's in a B2B perspective, where you're talking to your consumers or your clients, or from a B2C perspective, or even from a candidate acquisition perspective. Building trust should be at the core of all of your marketing as well as recruiting strategies, right? Now, not just on LinkedIn, but on any platform, it's very, very important to understand what is the intent of the members on that platform. So think about how you yourself use different platforms, right? Whether when you're on Instagram or when you're on Facebook, what activity are you actually doing, right? And when you're on LinkedIn, what is the mindset that you come in with? So that can actually inform you of how to effectively manage your communication style on each of the platforms. So if you look at the graph here or the stats on the slide here, right, on LinkedIn, members are focused on learning, right? They're coming onto LinkedIn to find information that will help them improve their career, find job opportunities, and get expert advice, right, from either peers or leaders in their own industry, or learn from the member base, right? And if you look at Facebook and Twitter, it's mostly to be connected with friends and to be entertained, right? And you see the types of content also that align with these member intentions, right? So it's very crucial for us to start from the point of view of our audience, is to really understand how they're behaving, how they're spending their time consuming content on each of these platforms. Can we move on, please? So now that we understand the intent aspect of our audience, let's look at how this translates, right, into engagement and activity on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, professionals actually are very purposeful. They're very mindful of the amount of time they spend. They're mindful of how they're spending their time consuming content, right? So this actually translates into about 9 billion content impressions alone per week. That's a massive amount of engagement. And that directly translates into content being viewed 15 times more than job postings, than traditional job postings, right? So it's very important. So even if you're recruiting or you're trying to engage candidates in your pipeline, it's important to get in front of them with content, right? And of course, this was also mentioned in Ms. Hong's presentation earlier, right? A lot of, not just Gen Y and Gen Z, but a lot of us, right, intergenerational audiences are actually more active on mobile. This is not to say that we don't use desktop platforms. It's actually a combination of both, but increasingly, we are spending a lot of time on our mobile devices, right? So when you're designing your content, think about, is this suitable for a small screen, right? Is this suitable to stand out on a mobile device, right? And also, on average, members spend about 45 minutes per month, but obviously this varies depending on whether they're a job seeker, whether they're an executive leader, and what kinds of activities are they doing, right? So think about that for a minute. LinkedIn's the largest professional network, over 690 million members and growing at the rate of 3 members per second. 75% of that member base is outside of the US. And within APAC, we have 185 million people. And in Vietnam, that's 3.5 million people. So there's a lot of people who are of interest to you. That may be part of your recruitment strategy, that may be part of your business strategy, and they're on LinkedIn, right? And it's about how do you now then get their attention on this platform. Can we move on, please? Thank you. So 3 key reasons why all of us should be creating as well as engaging with content on LinkedIn. The first and foremost, obviously, is to keep in touch with your audience. And I say audience to sort of broadly categorize, your clients, your consumers, your investors, your candidates, right? This is where your network is growing and they're coming with a professional mindset. The second is for you to build your trust and visibility for yourself as an individual, right? Whether you're a marketer or a recruiter or a senior executive leader, as well as for your organizational brand. How do you take your brand offerings, your EVP, your culture and values, and how do you use that to build trust with your audiences on LinkedIn? It's through content, right? It actually strengthens your position as a leader, and it establishes respect for you as an individual as well as an organization. And thirdly, content is key to attracting the best talent from across the world, right? The candidate journey starts long before someone decides to click on a job and say apply or submit their CV. You need to create a lot of touch points with your audience, not just on LinkedIn, but on any platform. So the first thing is understanding the intent of how they're spending their time on each of these platforms. Second, use content to increase the number of interactions they have with you and your brand, right? Let's move on, please. So on LinkedIn, right, what do members particularly engage with in terms of just content? people are thinking about content that is relevant to them, right? So relevant to their industry, to their job, or to the job that they're looking for. So content that is educational, that provides them helpful information. So the first thing is this piece of content, whatever it is, right? Whether it's a video, whether it's an article, whether it's a third-party sort of report or article that's being shared or blog, is it relevant to me? Is it helping me in what I'm doing day in and day out? Is it educational? Am I learning something new that's going to add on to what I'm doing every day, right? Is it helping me stay on top, right? And be aware of what are the latest trends in my industry, or what are the latest that are available? Is the content inspiring, right? We don't make decisions just based on numbers, right? We also make decisions based on how it makes us feel. When we see some of the greatest pieces of content, we connect to it because not only does it make sense up here in our minds, but it also makes sense because it connects with our values, it connects with our aspirations, right? And finally, does this content help me build my skills, right? We're living in a time where traditional education only helps you get your foot through the door, right? And it doesn't stop there. Education doesn't stop once you've finished your degree or your graduation, or you've got an MBA. It continues in the workplace. It continues on a daily basis, and upskilling yourself is what's going to help you stay in the workforce longer and help you progress in your career, right? So these are the things that members on LinkedIn, professionals on LinkedIn are actually thinking about when they are consuming content on the platform. Next one, please. So how do we build or how do we create content that feeds into our members' expectations? So typically what works best on LinkedIn, you see right on top is industry news, as well as trending content within the industry. So you might have even noticed this on your feed. LinkedIn itself has a separate editorial team that provides news, especially, I didn't put it on a slide here, but LinkedIn's also being used as a news platform now. And we have more traffic than, let's say traditional news websites or newspapers like the Wall Street Journal or the business reviews from different companies, right? So that's typically the top engaging content that works on LinkedIn. Tips and best practices. Like I mentioned before, people are trying to improve what they do on a day-to-day basis, whether that's being a leader in an organization and understanding what they should be focusing on in order to improve employee retention, for example, right? Or whether as a recruiter, what are the best practices to get in front of, let's say, millennials and Gen Z, what appeals to them? How do I reach out to them with tips and best practices to help them find their dream job, right? So in that manner of speaking, think about jobs and skills that you can talk about, or leadership as a topic, right? That's always a ubiquitous sort of topic that appeals to everyone. And of course, industry events, off late, because everyone's working from home, all of our events have moved online. Today's webinar is an example. But you could take your highlights from this and share it with your network and amplify what you've learned from these events, right? And of course, product and service information and employee perspectives. And we saw how important that was for Shopee's, employer branding strategy, and how they were encouraging their employees to share content on different platforms, and using, relevant hashtags to make sure that they're building their community, they're building their follower base as well, right? So these are typically what works well on LinkedIn. Next slide, please. So if we were to categorize all of these content topics, think about it in these three big umbrellas, right? One is your industry. So you've got enough experience and knowledge in your specific lane, so you can use that knowledge to your advantage. Secondly, you yourself. So what are the things that connect with you? What are your personal values and passions, right? And then thirdly, your organization, right? What are the values? What are the vision and mission of your organization? What is the culture within your organization? So you can broadly sort of classify your content into these three big buckets to make it easier on yourself to decide, okay, what are you going to post on LinkedIn about, right? Next slide, please. Great. So once you've decided what your key content strategy is going to be, whether it's about your industry, about your personal experiences, or your organization, right? Think about what format you're going to use to convey your message, right? So the next couple of slides are going to be very tactical, and they're going to be about best practices of how you can leverage LinkedIn as a platform on the organic side to engage your audiences, right? Sorry, something's happened with the slide. Can we go back? Can we go back one slide, please? Perfect, thank you. So typically on LinkedIn, you have three main options. You have the article or the long form. It's almost like a blog that individuals can start writing from their personal profiles. Then you have the short form post. Again, it's directly from your feed, right? On mobile or on desktop. It's not exactly a blog page, but you can link it with images or videos or any third-party content, right? And of course, video as a format is exploding on every platform, right? It's easier for people to watch a video, and they're more likely to watch a video than read a long-form article, right? It's quicker, and you can condense a lot of information within the video format. All right, so next slide, please. Let's look at the best practices for creating articles on LinkedIn, right? So when you're thinking of providing an in-depth analysis, right? You're picking a specific topic, let's say, what recruiters need to, what is the recruiter's mindset when they're hiring talent? And you want to focus specifically on your experiences and what you want to convey, right? You can choose the article format because it actually gives you the space to get into detail about your knowledge in that area, right? You can provide a lot of advice. You can provide a lot of steps that your audience can take in order to land, let's say, a dream job, for example, right? It also gives you the opportunity for you to sort of talk about what's happening behind the scenes, right? So let's say, so I would recommend along with, if you're really good at your written communication, or if you're passionate about expressing it that way, different people have different preferences, right? So if writing is a big focused area for you, then I would recommend writing articles. Definitely break it up with relevant images or graphs that sort of feed into your articles. That'll be helpful. Next slide, please. Okay, so here are some examples of what you can see on LinkedIn, right? So a lot of executive leaders actually prefer to write articles so that they can give a more in-depth and personal experience, right? So use your subject matter expertise to provide that analysis. Make sure you're referencing your data sources, like let's say you're quoting stats from Manpower Group's research, or you're quoting stats from the United Nations report on something, or Harvard Business Review. Make sure all of those sources are mentioned, right? And your articles can actually become a curation of your thought leadership on LinkedIn. Next slide, please. All right. let's talk about the short form posts, right? So I would recommend these when you don't have time to write an in-depth analysis. Let's say you've just read a great blog online and you want to share the highlights of what you've read with your connections, with your audience, and probably get their perspectives on it, right? So you can use the short form post to do just that. It's just quick hitting words of inspiration or aspirational advice. It could be your highlights from attending an event, just your point of view, right? And also now we have a new capability to include polls. So you can actually ask your audience and engage them using LinkedIn polls, right? Very quick way to start engagement, start conversations on LinkedIn. Make sure you're using hashtags so that it increases your visibility whenever someone searches for that hashtag, right? Next slide, please. Right. So quick call out for the visibility of your posts. Make sure that when you're posting, you're setting the visibility to anyone. That way, it'll go out not just to your first degree connections, but it'll also be visible to their second degree and third degree connections. So it allows people who are outside of your own circle, outside of your own network, outside of your own follower base even, to engage and engage with your content. And of course, if you have other social media platforms that you've linked with your account, you can actually choose the option to sort of publish it on other platforms as well, right? And if your content is specific to, let's say, a highly specialized group, you could also choose that option, right? So you're increasing the relevancy of your content based on the visibility setting. Next, please. So here are some examples. So some of the recommendations that I would say for sort of like the short form posts, right, is providing your specific point of view. And you could be celebrating something cultural that's happening in general, something that's happening at your organization. We saw a lot of examples from Shopee earlier where employees were posting about cultural events in their organization from their profiles. We also saw the mass sort of messaging that went out. Those are all great examples for short form posting on LinkedIn, right? You could also, and I've also included an example of a poll there, which is a new feature that was just launched last month. So share highlights, share polls. You could also share PowerPoints or PDFs or documents right within your feed. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, video, right? Everyone is, become a video producer with all the apps that are available, right? Video editing is no longer, rocket science. It's become easy with a lot of the platforms, a lot of the apps that we have, including TikTok, right? But it's just understanding what format of video works well. The length really doesn't matter as long as your content quality and relevancy are there for your audience, right? So on LinkedIn, vertical videos work really well, especially one that's created by the speaker. So on their mobile, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that you're including captions because most videos play on mute. So it's important to be inclusive as well and enable captions for your videos, right? And from a brand perspective, keep it consistent, create a series of video content because people will stay more engaged rather than having like ad hoc videos here and there, right? So choose a topic and then use the video format to speak about your expertise or your knowledge in that area. Next, please. Okay, couple of ideas for video content, especially if you're focusing on candidates, right? You could do a quick 1-minute video about, interview tips or how candidates should prepare for online interviews, for example. It could be industry highlights. It could be talking about specific culture and values in your workplace. It could also be about interviews with a hiring manager, for example, and what they look for in their candidates. So the possibilities are endless. The format is great for consumption from an audience point of view. I would recommend that if you are posting from your personal profile, do tag people within your team or even your candidates you've placed, or your leadership team, so that they can support you. And when they support you by liking, sharing, or commenting on your video, it actually expands the visibility of your post to their networks as well. So it creates a ripple effect, right? And there are a lot of free apps available, specifically Clips on iOS and AutoCap on Android, that automatically add, the subtitles or closed captions on your video. So you don't have to take the additional effort to sit and edit your video on a separate platform to add on those captions, right? So it can be very quick. You might find it a little strange if you're not used to creating videos, but I would recommend try it a couple of times to become comfortable. There are a lot of tips that we provide. You can go onto my profile to get those tips as well, because we talk about it all the time and we use it as well. So we practice what we preach, and these are all tips from what works best, right? And yeah, definitely use the right hashtags so that it can feed into your organization's sort of community building efforts, as well as feed into larger visibility settings, right? Next, please. Perfect. So if you're looking for trending content, trending hashtag that's relevant to you, and you want to customize your feed to see specific content related to that, what I would recommend on LinkedIn is to go into the network, My Network tab, right? And then click on hashtags. It'll open up this image that you're seeing, right? Fresh perspectives, and it'll recommend hashtags and people, as well as newsletters that are relevant to your one, to the information that's on your profile, right? And two, it'll also customize it based on your activity on LinkedIn, right? And then when you're posting from your feed, there is an option which says add hashtags. So sometimes the system will auto recommend certain hashtags for you to include in your content, right? And if you want to learn more about, what are the best practices, what are the right sized images, what are the technical specifications and all of that, you can always go to linkedin.com/help to find information on anything related to LinkedIn, right? Next, please. Okay, I want to conclude with this, right? We started off talking about how LinkedIn is the most trusted digital platform. But I want to end with saying that when you use content, think of it as an activity to build trust and credibility in you as an individual, as well as in your organization's brand, right? Focus on bringing value to your audience. Think about it from their perspective, right? Is this content, is this piece of information going to add value to them, or is it contributing to just noise, right? Be authentic. When I say authentic, it means, be true to your purpose, be true to your organization's values and culture. Be current and transparent. No one's interested in last year's insights. We all want instantaneous gratification, but at the same time, we want to be informed of the latest developments in our industry, right? So be current and be transparent. What should your audience expect by engaging with this piece of content? So be upfront about it, no hidden agendas. And also when you're developing your content, think human to human, right? Oftentimes we get caught up in producing really highly branded content and we think it's going to work, but it actually doesn't end up getting as good as an engagement because it's actually missing out on the human component. So try to connect with your purpose and try to connect with your audience's purpose and intentions on the platform. And that'll help you build trust and credibility through content. So that's it. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Ms. Rahika. I could see that we all know LinkedIn is very important, but throughout your presentation, we can see that so many tips and many tools that we can use to attract more talent through LinkedIn. Just some information, yeah, I do find your information is very helpful, and definitely after today, I will apply to some tips and some tools on my LinkedIn accounts to be able
Absolutely.
to more to the market. Thank you very much for your information, Ms. Rahika. And one of the gentlemen in our panel discussion today is Mr. Chen Ngọc Thị. He's going to share with us very interesting topic, which is about emotional touch for successful candidate engagement. I believe there will be a lot of real experience he will share with us from his experience as a talent acquisition for over a couple of years. Please, Mr. Thị.
Thank you so much, Ansung, for the introduction. And again, thank you so much for Manpower Team Vietnam for having me in the panel discussion today. I'm very glad on sharing on the topic, how we can connect emotion of the candidate and build successful candidate engagement and experience. So for me, I have been in the talent acquisition for quite long. So I crossed in the different industry related to IT technologies and high tech and FMCG industry. So everything so here is something I put into the table. So I hopefully in the 15 minutes in the presentation, I will bring some helpful tips to the recruiter and make our recruiter life more easier. So first of all, let me start with the first content. On our first meeting, I call on the first day with our potential candidate, how we create a good impression. So most of our recruiter base in Vietnam, we use LinkedIn and we use other social network for approaching a candidate. But when we do approaching a candidate, we have a particular position open. And for me as well, when I do the proactively sourcing for some position, but we even don't have a job opening, but we do connecting with the candidates. So we reach out to them for the networking quite often. Therefore, when on the first time we met, we usually I will call them for not for an interview. We have a coffee meetup outside the office for easy for them to share about their career aspiration, etc. So the first of all, I will advise you to do the research on the candidate background. Why we call it the first date with the potential candidate? It means that the recruiter, talent acquisition team, have to have a very well preparation for that meeting as well, and the candidate also have their part for preparation preparation. And how we can research on the candidate background, etc. If a candidate is moving from finance to the procurement, and you can justify what is the unique on their profile, their background, the university. Maybe the candidate come from very famous university. Example from NUS from Singapore or from like Monash University in Australia. How you can memorize the candidate and make them stand out from the other candidate. Example, if a candidate is moving from finance to procurement and working very successful in her role in procurement department, so you are a recruiter, you have to be more curious. What makes the candidate change their career, and what is their strong technical background from their profile? You have to do the research before the meeting. So when you come to the coffee meetup, you talk to the candidate, and because now you represent for the company, you are the image of the whole company. So make yourself appearance. You dress up nicely, and then you come to talk to candidate in the first meeting. So you how do I say, you just, for me example, I come to talk with the candidate, so it is not gonna be an interview. So I get the recommendation from my colleagues, and then we confident you are the best candidates for the current opening position. So this meeting, the purpose is for our team to get to know you and how we can understand your career um, advancement and the career progression and objective in the future, and how we can support you. So if you create an atmosphere very comfortable from the beginning, the candidate tend to share in more and very open for the question. And even when the recruiter not ask so many questions, they still feel very comfortable. Yeah. So you do some research, and at the first meeting, you make them comfortable for sharing, and then during the meeting, you have to understand what inspired the candidate, what is their motivation. Example, when I experienced to interview a candidate, and she left the job for almost 2 years, and she take care of her children, being a mom for 2 years, and that is the 2 year gap make her feel so confusing, and she very afraid that she cannot get a job outside there, because after 2 years, that is a big gap in the working experience. But I still decide to make her. So in the interview, I will, in the first meeting and the coffee meetup, I will ask her whether why it takes her so long for take care for the children. So I put myself in the shoe of the candidate to understand what inspired her, and what is her challenges and the job she looking for. Maybe she looking for a job very work-life balance to spend time with her kids, and then whether we offer the same position for her or not. So to move next, there are a few things the recruiter to be very mindful when talking with the candidate. Example, you have to be faithful. You have to be very patient, and you fully present to the meeting. Um, if they are a very particular job and the opening vacant, you have to share with them properly about the opportunity, what is the challenges of the role, and whether the career roadmap for this position will design in the future or not. Be patient, listen to the candidate story, because sometimes we, how do I say, if the candidate is very good and you can see they are very potential from the beginning, you tend to very engage with them, and you tend to interact with them more. But if the candidate is okay in the beginning, is very boring, maybe their communication is not good enough, so you have to be very patient. Why you have to be very patient? You spend time to explore them more. Because example, some come from the technical side, or working in the manufacturing plant. They are not a very good communicator. So you have to understand them, because the technical version and the commercial version is the two profile quite different in vice versa. So you have to understand that point. How you can set yourself become more patient during the discussion is that you have to imagine that the candidate just had one meeting, and maybe they are not fit for the current opening, but in the future, what is the position will be the best fit to their experience. So you have to create a very positive conversation with them and keep them fully engaged and talking, and try to explore them as much as possible. Fully present, it means that you talk to the candidate, but you're thinking about the meeting at the 7 p.m. and then thinking about the report you had to send to your manager. And a lot of things come up in your mind. So you're not really highly focused on the candidate. If the candidate observe that their conversation is not like you not pay attention to the conversation. We talk less than the normal. So therefore, I asking for you have to be prepared yourself, thinking about the candidate, thinking the focus in the candidate, what you want to explore from them, what you want to gain through the conversation. It is more important. So be open-minded. I just said before, maybe an unemployment gap in the candidate experience, but you have to be open for exploring the gap in the experience. And there's some cases you have to put yourself in the candidate's shoes for understanding them, or in the same situation, the candidate maybe learn something from their experience. And if you don't open-minded and you jump into the conclusion, or you make any judgment during the discussion, so they might be very upset. So you have to listen to them. Maybe you just say nothing, and you had your own decision making in the interview process, and whether they are the profile we need for any particular position, or whether they fit into our current culture of company or not. But we have to be very tentatively listen to them, and when we open our mind, we can easier to understand them more. So at the end of the conversation and the first coffee meetup with the candidates, so you ask them whether we can keep in touch and we can stay connected through the chat apps like WhatsApp or Viber number or LinkedIn, personal LinkedIn contact, etc. So we ask them whether in the next step of their career, what is the what makes the confusion in the career roadmap and then career advancement, and how we can help them to leverage that one. We can connect them with the industry expertise, like the person in the finance. We can connect them with a finance director or finance controller in our in our network to help them sharpen their technical skill and leverage the network to do the career orientation for them. So that's all from the first time you met with candidates, and how we can leverage this one to create a very good impression. Remember, the candidate come to meet you. We have used, as you mentioned before, they feel connected with your brand and they you to be your consumer. And then when they decide to meet with you, they have some particular interest in your company. So the talent acquisition team is represent for the whole company. Therefore, you have to be well prepared, and you have to make the candidate feel inspiring and remember you in the first time they met you. That is a very key thing. You have to be very professional anyway. Yeah. So in the second part of the presentation, I will talk a little bit more how we can build and leverage the network to be a networking, a successful networking version. So I keep it very simple for you guys to easy to follow. How do I say? As a recruiter, I have a lot of connection to LinkedIn, more than 20 or 24,000 connection. And you know that the job is quite busy. I do the meeting, I attend the meeting. I have to make the candidate, I do the phone interview, I organize the management training program. So a lot of stuff coming. So I receive a lot of emails from the candidate asking for, hey, I'm from overseas. I cannot find a job out there, and there is the crisis, the COVID impact. So I'm feel very upset. And may you introduce me a job in Vietnam? And at that moment, I try to log into LinkedIn website and answer as many messages from the candidate as possible. To do that, I spend more time for working on it. But you can imagine in the same situation, you are unemployment and you really need a job. You reach out to a recruiter and then nothing happened. You feel really upset. So I had to understand them. I try to ask the candidate, hey, we don't hire the expat for this position. Most of the position we hire the local Vietnamese only, but I come across any position, I will try to help you. And even a candidate he pay in Africa, and the guy working for a company for nearly 13 years. Unfortunately, the physics of the company stopped during that time, and he had 5 children, and he living with his wife and 5 children, and he told me that I feel really helpless. I cannot find a job for nearly 2 years, and I'm very open for relocation for the APAC country. So whether I can have to support to connect him with the job in the local market. So I have some contact of the recruiter from the recruitment agency. So I refer the contact, and I asked to send his profile to the agency. So after a while, like 3 months or 4 months later, he got a job in another country. And he get back to me. He say, hey, thank you for helping me. I remember you. You are the one that I very feel that trust, and I can come to you for the next time. So the first part I mentioned here, that you have to become available. When a candidate reaches out to you, asking for support, don't ignore them. Trying to help them, as many of them as possible. When you're looking for a job, we're in the very struggling situation. You don't have to be only a recruiter. You select the profile, you attract the people, but you also do like a career consultant. To be a career consultant, I have the same story with a candidate. He how do I say, he come to interview at the other company within the same industry in the FMCG company, and the guy is doing the job in field of marketing. So when he come to me, he asked whether I took the offer, and I asked him, so whether you transfer from you applying for the same position, so you are a marketing manager, and now you move in for another role, also marketing manager, and the team is smaller. You took like 3 products in the category, and now you only in charge of one portfolio of one particular product, and then the team is smaller. And then what is the next step of the career? Um, will be inspire him, or he feel very like upset, or he feel frustrated with the current company, and he just simply took the offer. So when the candidate come to you for a career counselor, you have to be interpreter them. You have to be convincing them what is the best choice for them at the moment, and what is the purpose of the career transition at that moment. That that's something we have to connect with you, so they don't feel that you are not only a recruiter just for selection process, and then after that, after the process finished and just the end here, but it's a full cycle. Like we build them the trust, and then we get the support. Even when we open for hiring any particular position, we refer the candidate to us as well. So that is a two-way, the win-win situation. So I think it is really important for you to be successful, to build your network. Thirdly, sometimes we talk to some candidates and we don't have enough time to reconnect with them. So how you can see how we can still interact with them in another way to and still keep them connected. Like you see a candidate in my in the previously, let me share with you some of my experience. So when I come to say, hey guy, congratulations, you got a new job and it is really amazing. So that guy come to me, he asked, hey Thịnh, I still looking for another opportunity. So do you have any available job here in your current company? So I say, hey, I have an opportunity, and it will really match with your job background. And then we make up for one coffee, and the next day he get the job offer. So that I mean that in in some moment, we come to the social network and we can ask in them how life is going on. And when we get the promotion, we can come and say, congratulations, you make it, you deserve it. And to make the candidate still engage with you, because after we met you in the first coffee meetup, and then sometimes they don't remember, and we lost the connection. So LinkedIn is one example platform we can do that. I come to say, hey, congratulations, and the guys send the text to me and ask for schedule for a coffee chat later on. So that is the way we do the networking. So when you do all kind of those things, you can be stay on the top of my recruiter of candidate. I'm not confident. You can be a top of my recruiter for every candidate can come to you. But I mean that when you represent a company, you are a recruiter, but you have integrate your personal branding. When you change the company, or even you step up in a different industry, the candidate still remember you. If you are a recruiter, you expert in the technology, the candidate come and ask you, what is the technology, or what is the e-commerce startup company, how it look like, how the environment, and what is the job in that company will suitable with my background. And the candidate come to you, and it really make your life more easier. They refer the candidate to you, they come and talk to you, so you also learn a lot from them and vice versa. So maybe that's all for my sharing. If you guys have any further question, feel free to put it in the chat box. So we have the panel discussion where the team here and I will address your question. Again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that this section will bring some useful tips for the recruiter in the country. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Teck. To be honest with you, I do find life the recruiter is very long and very stressful because they need to do a lot of networking, and apart from the networking with the candidate, they are under pressure of finding headcount of the company, and if as an external consultant, they are under pressure of target as well. So I do find it's a very challenging job, but at the same time, it's very interesting because you can meet a lot of candidates, and it's a very meaningful job to me actually, because you find the right people in the company, and at the same time you play a role as a consultant, as you say, to advise the career to someone who is not even your best friend yet, but maybe in the future, I'm sure if you provide them a good career choice or advice, definitely you will be a good friend, and it will be a very interesting job, I think. Thank you very much for your sharing, Mr. Teck. Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, I would like to welcome Ms. Võ Thùy Liên, who is the Talent Acquisition Manager from Jabil, Vietnam. She's going to share with us the topic about recruitment in recruiting manufacturing talent in digital age. This is a real case study from Jabil, Vietnam, I think. And please welcome Ms. Võ Thùy Liên.
Thanks, sir. So hello, all HR professional. My pleasure to be here today and have chance to listen to your expertise and share my humble experience about recruitment in digital. Appreciate Manpower for hosting the webinar and all of your participants. So I'm working for Jabil, where we provide electronic manufacturing service and solutions throughout the world. The company operates two segments, which include electronic manufacturing service and diversified manufacturing service. Leverage the power of 200,000 people across 100 sites. With the rapid growth of the business, talent acquisition is always the first priority in our organizations. I believe that Jabil is having the same headache with the other organizations, such as many companies working in the same industry, and at the consequence, manpower shortage and limited resources. So therefore, we should do a strategic plan, very good in employee planning to attract talent and simplify the hiring process by using cutting-edge technology. And a TA, I call talent acquisition at TA for the job. A TA lead will need to improve their strategic plan and recruitment technologies because as a TA professional, as a result, face a new challenge in marketing and selling the job to acquire top talent in a competitive market, increasing hiring velocity, optimizing hiring budgets, and improving the quality of hire. So with the integration of so much technology in talent acquisition, the recruitment market has become competitive than ever. Furthermore, the skill and demand are changing, and digitalization disrupts the traditional skill base, and Chaebol has undergo the HR transformation journey to go live e-system in HR, including e-payroll, e-SIP change, e-overtime report, and e-hiring that I really want to focus today. We're keeping up with the recruitment and digital age in three main pillars in the slide. First is attraction, selection, and experience. First topic is extraction. So gone with the day when the newspaper advertisement would result in hundreds of applications piling at your desk, and the job board advertisement would result hundreds of applications in your inbox. So keep ahead with your competitors. Consider adopting with target on the recruitment ads. Ensure that we have relevant application. See your vacancy, appealing graphic job advert rather than long bullet JD. Catch the eye is also a strategy of pulling candidate interest. Detailed scope of work is really important, but it is not. It is only after the real discussion between TA, hiring manager, and candidate taking in place. And the second thing is the SEO optimized job vacancy page, increasing your search ranking by using Google X-ray Boolean search technique. As long as you build your job advert with the appropriate keywords, it will display in the search string of the candidate and narrow the distance between job seeker and employer. We're talking about the dynamic branding to attract the top talent in your company through an engaged and consistent online presence. And we can have a lot of mobile apps where it's allow you to actively looking for candidate, and for candidate looking for job by clicking on view profile or apply button. All you need to do is know your target audiences, plan your campaign carefully, and lastly, you should have an official and professional account. The second pillar is the selection. In this area, I think the selection process needs to be changed to ensure that you can handle increased volume of application that your new attracting progress is generating. And a digital selection process will incorporate, for example, linking resume. It gives you everything you need to know, including the candidate professional contact. Of course, you have to get the LinkedIn license. And online presence, do an online search for an industry relevant blogs, social media posts, or follow it by the candidate. And you can have predictive analytics like pre-screening, profiling, online personality testing, and an automated selection tool, removing hiring bias and accuracies, because this will be the facts and figures to hiring manager to be convinced before the interview why this candidate is potential, and enabling you to hire the right person to build a top team. This can help you to reduce the time and take it into the perfect person for the vacancy. The third pillar is giving good experience. In this digital era, it has changed everybody expectation about experience, preferring speed, ease, and personalization over anything else that I think from Berkeley cover perfectly. So we can respond this by using technology to streamline the application process with application tracking and updating system daily. I think the recruiter should do more proactively on that. As you're aware, the ATS is helping a lot of time in the hiring process by recommendation, good profile based on the balance of candidate experience and the job requirement. And it's an ideal place to store the resume rather than to keep that in your folder in desktop or else in your laptop. Speed up the selection by offering Sky interview, especially in this difficult time with COVID-19, we can see it efficiency than ever. We should not stop to build the candidate experience by using technologies, and it should embrace through the onboarding process and beyond. This is a transparent system for both end user, candidate, and TA team. So by doing this, you will retain the interest of the candidate throughout the recruitment process and across the dynamic working environment that they can wait to work for. Please move to the next slide, please. Thanks. So in this slide, I want to talk about the hiring process. At the recruiting lead, you need to hire the best candidate fast. But today, we have increasingly competitive market. It's harder than ever to engage the right talent. And on top of that, for any organization has complex talent management process. As you can see in the slide, many steps to make. Many people step in the system involved in the process, cause time-consuming headache. The consequence, many candidates slip through the crack and find another opportunity, and that's why Jabil, we have implemented our HR transformation, calling solution provider, and they have to build one hiring process, a single system to manage the entire talent life cycle. In this system, we can establish the unit employer planning, where it's synchronized to social media like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and other job boards. We are free to design our appealing job advert, replace the traditional JD. We can create QR code for the short JD. And so in the early timing, it catches top talent comes to us whenever they are ready to make the next move. Actively engage in internal and external candidate with certain and dedicated experience from the beginning to the onboarding process. And we can build the transparent collaborative hiring process that keep everyone in the same page. For example, for a specific position, TA, hiring manager, and related stakeholder are actively interacted and involved in the close hiring process until the candidate is actually onboarding. This helps the new procedure smart, faster, bringing good experience to everyone, especially our candidate. All of this streamlined by an easily used system. So TA team cut the time for effort and spend less time on system and more time with the candidate. That recruitment report and dashboard have to identify the opportunity at a glance and deep dive in the improvement of recruitment strategy. One system in one place, so both TA and hiring manager with the authorized assess can understand the talent market, experience and competency of the candidate, so they can spot out the gap to adjust. They also aware of the KPI indicator that help to control the recruitment strategy and process very efficiency, time to hire, average time to hire, diversity ratio, and turnover rate for the family job. So by using this e-system, this can help a big deal of time saving, let admin job and do more strategic work. Okay, so the last slide, please. This slide is the demonstration for this, what we can offer, giving a shortcut analysis for recruitment trends, diversity, address pain points, so we can continuously improve the strategic process. The achievement we made is viewing consistent recruitment model, more agile process, and TA is not acting alone, but have involved on the stakeholder in the process. I think this is all I can share at the moment due to the time constraint. Hope that it can be helpful and don't make you falling asleep. Thanks for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Lin. Yeah, for the matter of time, I think we try to finish the webinar at 11 o'clock so that everyone can go back to their work. We do receive a lot of questions, and the panel will be, I will select some of the questions and then direct to the relevant speakers. And for the rest of the questions that we don't have enough time to answer, we'll try to answer offline and reach out to the speaker, and they try to answer by email to us, and then we will revert back to the audience who has the questions. To start with, I would like to have a question to LinkedIn. Ms. Rahika, there is a question for you, which is, how can we filter LinkedIn connection regularly, which are valued or active?
Sorry, could you repeat that, Mrs. Sun? How do we filter our connections? Is that right?
Yeah.
On whether they're active, or what was the other?
Value.
What was the rest of the question?
Value.
Right.
Which are value or active? Yeah.
Okay, that's unless you have a recruiter license on LinkedIn, that's sort of difficult to do as an individual with just your individual profile. So that's a little tough to do, obviously, to look at who's active and who's not on within your professional connections. But I'm assuming they're asking this question based on the type of engagement that they're getting on LinkedIn. I'm hoping that's the assumption. In that case, instead of focusing on who's active and who's not, I just recommend continue to grow your connections on LinkedIn. Connect with people, not just within your industry, but also ancillary or complementary industries, because there's a lot we can learn from members. And one way to look at activity status is also to look at people's profiles and look at whether there are engagements, right? Are they liking, commenting, or sharing posts on LinkedIn? That's a very simple way to sort of gauge whether that particular contact is active or not. Sorry, Mrs. Lana, I don't think we can hear you.
Yes, we can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah. All right. So a question to Ms. Tracy, please. Can you share how HR and communication and marketing work together in Shopee to create your powerful employer branding? Have you faced any challenge, and how did you overcome them?
All right. Yeah, thanks for the questions. So at Shopee, everything we work as a team, regardless of which department or team that we are from. So whenever it comes to employer branding or the company branding in general, it's like a team effort from everyone. Marketing and communication would help HR in the sense that they would help us with the design to create the nice design for all our posting. And whenever it's comes to our campaign, like as an e-commerce platform, we have different promotional sales campaign throughout the year. And then usually with those campaign, the marketing teams always have the key visual guidelines, and HR will follow their key visual guidelines as well. Or on the other hand, like how HR can help with marketing is that we use LinkedIn also to share activities for employees around our campaigns day, or we go on campus and then we also talk about a little bit here and there about marketing. So that's how these two teams work together. The challenge is that each of the team, of course, we have different KPIs, we have different priorities. So how to work together and then how to align the priorities and the timeline of both the teams. So that is one of the challenges that we face. And then in order to overcome that challenge, I think the most effective way is that we need to have a timeline or a schedule in advance. We know that all the events that we have throughout the year. For example, we know that like by certain dates or certain months, we would reach 500,000 followers, or we would have this campaign on this day. So we already planned it in advance. So like each of the team, they have resource to help in order to build to work on like marketing or branding campaigns throughout the company.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much for the information. A question to Mr. Thick, please. How to attract talents when the company location is not in the city center? For SME, should there be a talent acquisition team, or the HR can cover this scope work? I understand Modelis is in Bình Dương, so how can you bring people from Ho Chi Minh City to Bình Dương in your case? And yeah.
So it is a very difficult question. So we get the same problem to bring the people from the city center to work in the Bình Dương province. So for me, the key challenge here that we have to attract the people, but it more depend on the profile of the candidate. Example, if the candidate in the stage of the early career, we just graduate from the university, and we're looking for an environment for provide the learning and then the coaching and then the training. So we can use that one to leverage to the campus activity to attract the early career talent. For the people who in the more seniority in the manager level, we have very special transportation package and relocation to help them, to attract them. If we want to relocate someone in the city central, but we have to look into the big picture. Like if we pay in the visit one in the manufacturing area, that is the pool of many companies. Let's thinking about how we can attract the talent within that pool as well. So we don't spend a lot of effort to pull a person from a very far away. We travel like 40 kilometers per day, and we feel cannot like their family in another location. But Vietnamese people, we pick up our our daughter to the school, and then feed them at the cooking at the evening, very family bonding. So think about a future, how we can attract the talent from the city center. We have provided very specific allowance in the scheme to attract them. But my first thinking about how we can leverage the pool of talent in our manufacturing area, like the V-Zip 1 or the V-Zip 2 or the Dong Nai province. It is more relevant location, and we can help attract them more easier. Yeah. So that's all for me.
Yeah. The second part of the question, which is for SME company, should there be a talent acquisition team, or the HR team can cover this scope of work?
So is that the question is that should the in the small SME company, whether the SR team handle the talent acquisition along with the other SR scope of work? Is that you mean?
No, the question is, should there be a specific talent acquisition team or the HR can cover this part as well?
Okay. So okay. So another difficult question. Sorry, could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So in a very small team, um, I suggest that it depends on the volume of the hiring. Like when we do the hiring, we will define on how many recruiter. I mean, we narrow down the span of control, how many position is opening, how many interview per day, how many profiles selected, and then how many senior hiring ongoing. It divide into the scope of one person, and we define the team structure based on the workload of the whole team. For to say that in a very in a SME company, it is purely some company just do the selection. That is the person in the SR team to do the job posting and then the filter the profile and then send to the line manager and the line manager justify the profile. We don't have to create like a very professional TA team to leverage the current workforce of the whole team, the result of the whole team. So my suggestion, it depends on the company, the strategy of the company. In that step, we want to build employer branding. We want to attract the people, and the company grow very intensively. We're thinking about a very specific role for talent acquisition and give room for the people to deliver. But in fact that the company is very stable and we still doing the talent acquisition, but we can leverage the current team to do the job as well. So it depends on the situation and how much the workload of the whole team. So hopefully my answer can clarify the questions. Thank you.
Yeah. So to summarize your point is it really depends on the activity of the company and the workload of the team, right?
Absolutely.
If the company is expanding, even if it's small, but it's expanding and it requires a lot of workforce, then there should be a team. But if the company, even if it's small, but it's already stable, then HR can cover the scope of work. That's what I understand. Yeah. Okay. A question to Chị Hương from Manpower Group, please. Can you share an example of a diverse generation working environment and how such a company can attract the right talent pool?
Okay, thanks, Sơn. And thank you for the questions. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, Jay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yes, okay. Thank you. Actually, I like very much the diversity topic. And before talking about this, let's see why we are having the diverse workforce. First, people are living longer and working older thanks to advanced healthcare services. You know that the retirement age in Vietnam has increased and will increase in future. And old generation X, Y, Z works together, even baby boomer. Migration is reaching levels not seen for decades, leading to diversity of races and cultures. New groups naturally demand equal treatments and opportunity. So Manpower Group Vietnam is a good example of diverse workforce where we have 4 generations working together. So such diversity makes us a very dynamic team, but at the same time, we experience the generation difference in motivations, behavior, lifestyle, as well as leadership style. Management team, we have from baby boomer to Gen Y. So how we manage that diverse workforce in Manpower Group Vietnam? From business side, I think that first business leader should have inclusive behavior where we welcome all new ideas, new ways of doing things, create open opportunities for all generations to develop themselves within our organizations if they have the capability and if they want to do it. So here in Manpower Group Vietnam, I have development of promotions of internal people as one of our HR KPI. Yes, regardless of the age of the genders and so on. And second, HR strategy should define strategies that not just enable business to grow, but to meet the specific needs of our targeted group too. Yeah. So when we are talking about the employee benefit, compensation and benefit, we consider different factors so that meet the specific needs. For example, healthcare and insurance coverage, for sure that it is not something that young generations really care of. However, they want things like activities, flexible working hours. So during and after the COVID-19, I think that so Manpower has initiated many interesting activities and that inspire and motivate the young generations. That is some very simple sharing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hương. A question to Ms. Lin, please, from Jabil. As more manufacturers are moving from China into Vietnam, this creates a lot of opportunity for us, we know, but at the same time, there are a lot of challenging as well. What are your advice to attract blue-collar workers in the context that Vietnam is facing a serious shortage of blue-collar workers for its manufacturing company as well?
Thanks, Son. So we are aware of this challenge, and this is also the main scope of our strategy as well. We keep focus on the people-centric, cooperate with good suppliers, help new hires to have the good integration via our OJTs on-the-job training or buddy program. That's our main prize. And we have a clear communication of the future working environment to avoid culture shock and transparent on the challenge. The opportunity never limit with Jabil because some blue collar maybe turn into a white collar after severe performance. So we all really always encourage people to take the bigger scope of work. So if they are there to take, they come to the right place. And we commit on the compensation plan to stabilize their earning and respect the RBA policy to keep the employer safe and protected. We are proud that in the difficult time with COVID-19, we paid the salary in full 100% and no reduce on the headcount for blue collar. So that's my answer.
Yeah, thank you very much. We all see that there is another booming industry, which is e-commerce, and it requires a lot of talents as well. So I'd like to refer this question to Ms. Tracy as well, because you're working in e-commerce industry, and we know that this is a very high competitive talent shortage in the industry. So what is your advice to others, to other companies in this case? We can't hear you, Ms. Tracy.
Sorry, I was on mute. So we are in a really competitive industry that we don't have many well-trained talents, but like how dynamic the technology industry is, we are also very dynamic and flexible in receiving employees and candidates coming from different backgrounds. We cannot wait for a university to train on e-commerce or on technologies graduates or anyone to help train. So we are open to any background as long as the employees, the candidates are passionate about us, about the company, about the industry, and they are willing to learn new things. They are fast learner, then they are easily adapting to the new environment and be flexible enough in this new agile working environment. So we have to be flexible that way in order to attract and get new talents to the company.
Yeah, I think that's the right strategy, because in Manpower, we also have a term which is called transferable skills. Because now if you look for the right talents with the exact skill that you need, it is a very challenging and it's not an easy job. You must be very lucky to do that. So the company, they have to be able to open the skills and looking for transferable skills to train, or maybe even to untrain the worker to retrain themselves. So I think your advice to companies is very useful and believe, yeah, I think there are many companies are doing like that as well. We have touched on the blue collar workers, and now I'd like to refer to a technical workers because I think especially in Vietnam we only have 5% of skilled workers can speak English, and the majority are in the blue workforce. But how about the technical workforce? What are they? What should company do to attract them? And I would like to refer this question to Ms. To LinkedIn, to Ms. Rahika. Can you advise for the company on this?
So for technical candidates, right? So LinkedIn actually, I would say, is the place to go for, technically sound candidates. And if you look at their activity levels as well, they're highly engaged on LinkedIn. Recently we had announced a lot of our LinkedIn learning courses that have been opened up and made free for the public. So, for candidates that are looking to sort of upskill themselves, there are a lot of free courses on LinkedIn that they can pick up on, to sort of upskill themselves and brush up their maybe, whatever skill set that they feel like sort of developing. I would recommend that. But also, it also depends on, which market that they're actually looking at. So, if they're focusing largely at working within Vietnam, then, it's not a bad thing, right? To have those communication skills. I think where it becomes difficult, where language requirements become important, is if you're trying to transition to other countries, right? So, I mean, what would be key is, when you're applying to a role, is to make sure that you're sort of communicating to the recruiter or the hiring manager and being upfront, right? Because a lot of times people hold themselves back thinking, oh, I don't have these specific skills, I'm not going to apply to the role. But most of the time, people are willing to make, accommodations if they feel that the candidate has the right potential and has the right skill set for the role. So language skills can be learned, right, over time. It shouldn't be a deterrent to applying to jobs that you're actually qualified for. So yeah, I would recommend that, start using the free resources that are available. Connect with people, of course, who can help you along the journey, and then be upfront with, the recruiters.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another question to Mr. Thick, please. What are the best means of recruitment for food and beverage, junior positions, and also managerial levels? This is a question from Mr. Phạc Phương Nam from Vạn Xuân FMCG Investment Company. Yeah.
Sorry, Anh Sơn, so the question is,
what are the best means of recruitment for food and beverage, junior level, and also managerial levels?
Yeah. So it does mean that the pool of the candidate we can leverage for the hiring.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So how do I say? We have the when I do the hiring for the FMCG industry. So from the big FMCG company, they are very limited, like more than 10 or 20, not come too much, 12 company in the top FMCG industry. And when we attract the people, and we select the people from the top company to convince them to join us, so it is really difficult. And we have a very limited pool of candidates. So it is very difficult for hiring the same industry, and we attract the same candidate in the industry. Therefore, when we do the hiring, we still pay on the skill set of the candidate. Example, when I do the hiring for the modern trade channel for the hyper supermarket channel, etc. And we require the candidate is very good in terms of planning. And he do the scheming for the promotion and the marketing, trade marketing campaign for that whole channel and the activity for the whole year. So the recruiter have to understand what is the job and what is the skill set we need for the job. If we cannot find the people in the same position in the other company, we can still find the candidate with the sub up skill set relevant. I still can find the candidate from the cosmetic, the one who do the e-commerce in the cosmetic. He or she do a lot of planning, like the campaign planning for the number of the budget spending, the total on that e-commerce website, etc., like the cosmetic company. So I still put that person in that role, and I had to get the hiring manager buy in the idea. Now we cannot get the candidate from our industry. Here the option for you. We have the candidate with the set of the skill of the job required. So are you willing to train them? How in the first 3 months you had a peer or a manager or a colleague to help them to fill the gap within 3 months. So we still provide a solution. At the talent acquisition, you don't just say, we cannot find the person in the market, but you have to think about how you convincing the hiring manager and look at the market at the total. We should not look in the narrow down the FMCG company. Example, if your company is very small company and you want to attract the top talent from the top company, it's more even challenging. So you have to think about the situation and provide a solution. So maybe that's all for my answer to the question. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. A question related to Facebook. I think this question should be answered by both Shopee and Jabil. When reaching a number of followers and interactions, the page will be blocked by Facebook and reduce access from audience. Is there an organic workaround without buying ads? So, Ms. Tracy, would you like to start first?
Yeah. Okay. So this is where marketing team needs to come in. So you need to work with your marketing team to, because a marketing team is a team that's working with Facebook a lot. So they will notify Facebook. You don't need to wait for like the number of followers or interactions on Facebook to do so, but from the beginning, when you set up your Facebook page, you need to inform your marketing team, and then the marketing team can work with Facebook in order to verify your page so that you won't run into that problem anymore.
Yeah, okay. How about Muslim? Is there any advice from you?
Yeah, sorry that we don't use Facebook for the recruitment platform because we have to rule with the organizations.
All right, right. How about it? Do you have any comment on this? Because I know FMCG, I assume you use a lot of Facebooks as well, yeah?
Yes, and so we use a lot of Facebook, but right now due to the global team, we had the media communication to the policy of the global team. So it's really difficult for us to have our article relating to the local industry, but I leverage the Facebook through the group of the student and the professional hiring. We do sifting for the open vacancy and try to get their attention. So it is still very useful at the moment. In the future, we will spend a lot of money for like digital marketing on Facebook. So we don't think we will do it. But let's see in whether the talent acquisition strategy of the whole company is changing time to time. So we still don't know. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Another question to Ms. Lin, please. Yeah, Ms. Lin, are you online still?
Still, sorry.
Okay. All right, because I don't see you online. Okay, so your question is, you share on dynamic branding, attracting the top talent to your company through an engaging and consistent online presence. However, online presence is so crowded now. Could you share top tips on how to control information and make it stand out amongst your competitors?
Well, I believe that each platform has its own charming. And I believe that Ms. Tracy's and Radhika already covered the topic earlier very detailed. But in my opinion, to stand out via online presence, the first thing is knowing your target audience, plan campaigns properly, pick up reliable channels, keyword technique, and don't forget the power of hashtags. You need to pay attention to sharing the content, proactive engagement with your organization and audience, optimize mobile apps so the extraction can be made everywhere.
You're right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Two last questions to our two speakers, please. First of all is to Ms. Hương. Can you share an example of, I'm sorry, I'm very interested in your presentation when you mentioned about 26% of candidates selected high touch in-person interview as the number one preference. What should be the strategy to attract the right talent in the digital age?
Okay, yes. Okay, so thank you for the questions again. 26 is not yet the majority, but I'm sure that the number has increased quite fast in the last few years, and it is foreseen even increase more in the near future when we have Generation Z enter the labor market. So the talent strategies to attract the talent should focus on first, HR need to transform from a traditional hiring approach to the digital one. You need to check what kind of tools and systems you are using today. And it's just not a tool and system. It is also about the people. So in digital age, we need to have the digital leadership, leaders with the digital mindset, and leaders who are ready to lead the digital age. Candidates now will be looking for something that not only educate them for future ventures, but provides a lot of room for growth. So whether we are providing people those kind of things, and in terms of the compensation, because you're asking about the strategy to attract talent, so I want to mention some things like not just about system and the digital hiring process, but also the things that the people are looking for. I mentioned before that the top 5 priority that the millennials looking for now is money, security, holidays, great people, and flexibility. So retaining talents is as challenging as attracting talent. According to Vietnam annual local labor market survey, the top 3 reasons that attract candidates to join your organizations are similar to the top 3 reasons that why people decide to leave you. So they are career advancement, compensations and benefit, and finally, leaderships and working environment. So the HR strategy should be the integrated one from the hiring process to the development and until the retentions. Yeah, it is what we call the completed HR cycles. So you can attract, develop, and retain talent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Hương. And the last question is to Ms. Tracy from Shopee. This is from MIT University, Vietnam. How do you attract the right fresh graduates for your organizations, and what do you expect from them?
Okay, yeah. We every year we do recruit a lot of fresh graduates from different universities. So what we look for in fresh graduates, like again, their passion, their interest in technology, in e-commerce industry. They are willing to learn new things because most of the things that we do that they cannot learn from any university. Like there's no university curriculum that has updated e-commerce knowledge. So they are willing to learn completely new things from their previous 4 years of learning. But I wouldn't say that their 4 years of university is a waste. It's actually the foundation for them to learn new things when they enter the real workforce at my company or any other company. And so we attract them. I think we have the advantage that we are a very young company, and also the employees are also very young. So that's why it's an attraction to young employees, a fresh graduate as well. And then it's a dynamic environment where we don't have a lot of hierarchy within the company, and they have good learning opportunities, and like really attractive industry, I would say. These years.
Yeah. How about Pete and Muslim? Do you have any comment on this? What do you expect from a fresh graduates if you recruit any?
Chị Liên ơi, would like to hear your talk first.
Okay, so with Jabil, we have official EIT. It's been employer in training. It's mean we target the fresh graduate or the student in the final years. We promote about this program, and we deploy that if any young generation can take the challenge to join Jabil, they will become a leader or a manager after 5 years. So we public this really widely to the corporate university through the campus event, career fair, and interview days that we have engaged several in next month, end of this year. So this is really efficient way to attract people.
So for Manali International, let me say some point of our current activity for attracting the young talent. We have designed a program, and each program is focused on the different targeted candidates for the fresh graduates. Like for the like we need a workforce very hands-on and can do the job. And we provide the trainee program. Like the student will start with the trainee program, and in terms of 3 or 4 years, we can like fluent the job, and that's it. And the other program we focus like the building the future leader. The future leader program is more competitive, and the requirement of the candidate and the expectation is much more higher than the trainee program. So that program is the format that the candidate have to go many rounds of application. We measure their personality and the group of behavior matching with the competence we require for the future leader at Manali International. And we build the framework, and within the framework we engage and helping the student become successful from our program. So to be honest, the fresh graduate attraction is very competitive because we need the people who can speak English and very good skill, numerical thinking, logical thinking. So it really competitive if we not doing the employer branding, and we can proposition our branding clearly and visible and attract the student. And when it comes to a particular program, we can see that clearly what in it for them to attract them. So we're working on the design, and it takes a lot of effort as well. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. And there are still a few more questions, but I think for the matter of time of all the audience, I think I will send the question to all the to the speaker, to the relevant speaker, and then hopefully you can reply us with your answer, and then we will revert the answer to the person who asked the question. Once again, thank you very much for all of our 5 distinguished speakers today. Thank you very much for your time. I know you have been a very busy day for you, and thank you very much for spending time with us. And to all our participants today, once again, thank you very much for paying attention to our webinar. And hopefully in the future, Manpower Group will be able to organize some more webinars with meaningful and very situation to update with you with the current situation of the markets. Once again, thank you very much and see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
team.
Okay, everyone.
Have a good day. See you.
See ya. Bye bye.